Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. And take a moment to officially welcome you to the IAF Mentoring Program Mentor Orientation. We have put aside about 90 minutes for this session. I'm hoping that we will finish within that time. So I've got pop-ups happening everywhere here. So I'm hoping that if any of you do need to leave early, please let me know. For those that joined earlier, I did let you know, and I'll let the others know that we are recording. So as we speak now, we are recording today's session. I am going to share my screen. So just give me a moment while I get that happening and we can get underway. When my technology works well, I will share my screen. Okay. So thank you for sharing your challenges, and I'll check in with you before the end of, before we finish, to make sure that we have had time to discuss those challenges if we haven't already, to make sure that we can support you to have a really enjoyable experience as a mentor. I want to thank all of you for your generosity, for being prepared to share your time and your wisdom to the program. And I suspect by the looks of it, there's some of you that were mentors last year. So hands up. Can you use a little reaction to put your hands up of those who are part of the 2019? Thank you, Larry. 2019, the pilot program. Trevor. Is anyone else that's on? Hi, Christina. Yes. Thank you so much. And I'll also can draw on your experience as well to help some questions that maybe I can't answer because you were participants in the program. So I hope you don't mind that I reach out to you if there's something that I can't answer for the questions. I'm also very grateful for everyone that contributed to the feedback from the 2019 program. We've worked really hard to continue and evolve this, the second pilot. So I'm hoping that those that were mentors last year, you'll start to see that there are some changes. Thank you to Linda, I've got your chat. That you'll see some changes from 2019 through to 2020. So what are we going to cover tonight? Oh. For me, the main reason that we have created and that the mentoring program exists is for two main reasons. One is for us to achieve their professional development goals, and the second one is to contribute to the growth of the facilitation community of practice around the world. And so it's very simple. We have designed it so that it can be self-service, that we're quite passionate around enabling the mentors and the mentees to have as much freedom to enjoy the program to the way that best suits their needs. So I'm actually going to go through the agenda, and then I want to share a little video of some of the mentors that were kind enough to share their thoughts with Jeffa last year. So what are we going to cover tonight is I'm going to touch shortly on definitions, and really to make sure we're all on the same page around what is mentoring. Also, you have all been asked to fill out a profile. So I want to touch base with you all just to explain how important that is, run through what the mentoring journey is, and also check in with you from a mentor and a mentee's perspective. What do you believe that your roles and responsibilities are, and what do you believe the roles and responsibilities of a mentee is? How to build your relationship, and then how do you prepare for your first session, and what some tips to also ensure that your follow-up sessions are successful, and also about also about finishing and completing your sessions and what makes that important. So there'll be some process, so some operational, and also some other things around some principles that can support you as mentors. So I'll just check in if there's any questions or anything else that you'd like to make sure that we include before I move on. So I'm just checking my chat. You can use the reaction to put your hand up as well, just so I don't miss you. And I'm going to take silence or no hands up as no questions. And yes, thank you, Jenny. We will cover duration, timing, etc. So thank you for your question. Please hold me to task though. If I do miss it, I don't think I will. Please remind me later. All right, so let's start with a bit of fun. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so that I can set up the video, and I'm just going to share our mentoring video. I'm missing not having a producer. It's so much easier when you've got a sidekick. Okay. And some of you may have seen this already before. All right, so I hope you can see that. Oh.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire, messages
that has not worked. Just give me a moment to re-find it. What I might do is I'm going to send you into breakout rooms just while I set that up, and we'll play it when we come back. And I want you to actually go into breakout rooms for a minute while I play with my technology quietly on my own, and have a little talk about, as we think about being mentors, there's a few different hats that we wear. Some of us are facilitators, some of us are consultants, some of us are coming in as past mentors, being mentors for the first time, and sometimes we feel like we're being counsellors. So I'm going to pop you in groups of 4-ish, and I want you to really have just a few minutes to think about what are the different roles, what are the different hats you wear. So what is the difference between your day job, whether it be with your consultant hat on, your facilitator hat on, and it might be another hat that you also wear, and what's different when you're putting your mentor hat on. So I'll pop those into the chat box so you can just capture them to take them into the breakout rooms with you. So think about, you know, as you wear your facilitator hat, could be your consultant hat, could be a manager's hat. And then what about when you put your mentor hat on? What is different? And then we'll come back and have a little talk about what's going to be different from your day job to when you're wearing those different hats. All right, I'm just going to give you 5 minutes, and I'll see you back here shortly, and I'll have our video ready to share. Welcome back.
Are you able to hear me?
Sorry?
Are you able to hear me?
We started about 20 minutes ago. Welcome back, everybody. Now, I hope you got my little message that I sent you, because I was just asking if someone could just give like a 30-second snapshot of a couple of things that they shared in their breakout rooms. For me, one of the exciting things about being a mentor on this program is, and being involved in these orientation programs, and also I'll be running another webinar about halfway through the program, is it's a great opportunity to network and to meet other mentors from around the world. So I am hoping that we can have a couple more breakouts, because it's just as, I think it's just as exciting to meet each other as it to have the conversations that I've asked you to have as well. So breakout room was Erin, Ganesh, Trevor, Yen, Yunche. Is there a spokesperson like to share just a 30-second snapshot of the conversation?
Well, I took some notes. Does that make me eligible?
It makes you 100% eligible, because no one's fighting you for it, Trevor.
Okay, very quickly then. So we said, firstly, it's on two levels. But firstly, it's the level around relationship building to give confidence, and then level 2 is skill building to give guidance. Another role that we step into is sharing our experience, which differentiates from pure coaching. So kind of going into coaching model, asking questions to illuminate the way forward, and then offering wisdom and advice if it's useful.
Thank you, Trevor. Awesome. And breakout room 2, and excuse me for my Australian accent if I get anyone's name wrong. Guaranteed I will, so I apologise, and please correct me. And welcome to Dorado. I've just noticed that you've joined us as well. So breakout room 2, we have Aaron, Brad, Nathaniel and Sanjay. Have a spokesperson?
Spokesperson, can we have Arun go for it?
Okay, thanks, Sanjay. So in our group, I guess we had people doing different roles. So there was people who are managers and facilitators and coaches. We found that similarity between coaching and facilitation. Other thing that we looked at as mentoring here is how do we help? Because our understanding was that we'll have people who are new into facilitation, wanting to get a way forward, a path into this, where some bit of advising would be required. It's not pure facilitation. So how do we help them, probably with understand them our own journeys that we've gone through, and give them the helping hand where required. That's what we guess would be a part of this whole mentoring program. That's what I kind of captured. So others, if you could just pitch in with anything else that I missed from the conversation.
Thank you.
Probably just to add, I think at the moment I see it like a combination of coaching as well as mentoring or guiding. Although we call it a mentoring program, but I think it may be a combination of both. That's how I'm seeing it right now.
Okay, yeah, we can draw on both skills, can't we? It's a great combination. Yeah.
Thanks, Sanjay.
Thank you. And breakout room 3, that was Alexandra's room.
Yes, so we mostly work in coaching and consultancy. So we talked about difference between coaching and mentoring, and came up with the discovery that it's easier to find the differences between coaching and mentoring than mentoring and consultancy. And we said that in mentoring, our mentees really seek for our advice, and it's good to give them options to try so that they can test themselves and we can discuss, and it's about sharing experiences and bringing maybe more our personality also into the relationship, so a bit better than in coaching. So they seek for guidance, and we are there to help them in that. And if I missed anything, so please add.
Thank you. And there's a subtle difference, isn't there? And yet so empowering, the difference between storytelling and sharing options than giving an answer. So much more powerful. Breakout room 4 was John and Kimberly's room. Spokesperson, happy to share a couple of thoughts.
Well, I was going to say this was the Canada-Russia room, and since ice hockey's been canceled, it was a lot less intense than it might otherwise have been. But other than that, it was a nice session. Most of us were, a couple of us had been mentors without mentees, and Maria was new to mentoring, and but mostly we thought this is going to be driven by the mentee. We can do whatever the mentee needs, whether it's about business or facilitation or whatever you want. And if I think that was really the approach, whatever comes down the pipe from the mentee is going to be what we'll do to the best of our ability. I know how fair that is, Kimberly,
yeah.
Rebecca, Marion. Oh.
Nothing to add? Absolutely. And, you know, that's one of the things that we have strongly encouraged in this program, that, and thank you, mentors, for sharing that you're open to whatever the mentee brings. You're happy to work with them on that, because some of the mentees' questions is around what can we work on? Is there some criteria around what the topics might be? So thank you for being open to whatever they might want to work on. And I mean, obviously, of course, that's within scope of whatever the two of you decide on. And there may be some caveats to that as we go through how the program can work and some of the options that the mentees have when they finish the program.
Sharon,
However,
one particular thing, if we get things down, we've all got huge networks at this stages of our career. And so I was seeing Lee Sababi on the call. If anybody wants to talk about virtual facilitation, of course, I'm going to run for cover. I don't know anything about that to speak of, and I'll send the question on to Lise, and Lise will be gracious enough to answer it, and then I'll look smart to the mentees. So I think that's the other thing, that the idea that we have to be all things to our mentees doesn't seem either desirable or necessary, given the people I'm looking at on the screen and the ones I know, directly or indirectly.
yeah, that's a great point, John, isn't it? That there is you think of the wisdom that's on this screen as we speak right now, and between you, I think it's that, I can't remember the expression, but that's around the team being greater than the sum of its parts, and that's what you all are as you come together as mentors. So thank you for that. Okay, we're up to breakout room 5, which is Noel's room. Someone in your group happy to share?
I can share on behalf of the group. I think most of the points are very similar, and we also have in the group that we've worn various hats like mentor, coach, consultant, etc. And some of the sharing with around mentors would give answers, whereas the coach usually doesn't. And at the same time, the mentee would come up with the goals, where they want to go, the development areas, whereas for mentors to support. And there was also some sharing around the IAF Oceania mentoring program that we could probably also learn from.
Right. And Trevor, I noticed you put up mentor specialist referrals. Did you want to add to your intent of that little comment?
Yeah, well, it was just putting a name on what John described, where, you know, if you don't have like a skill, or you don't feel confident, but you've got a mentee who really wants some help in a particular area, could we not in the future perhaps refer our mentees to other mentors? I don't know. It's just suddenly came to me.
It's a great it's a great concept. Thank you. Breakout room 5. Breakout room 6 was Gerardo's room. Anyone happy to share a couple of thoughts from there?
Okay, who's willing to break the silence?
That's what I was quietly, I was using the coach approach. I thought if I'm quiet long enough, one of you are going to have to share.
You can go, Linda, please.
I was hoping that I would not do that, but I think that this is the opportunity in the share out, in the plenary, when all the ideas have already been taken, so we can, not taken, but have already been expressed. So I think I would underscore, if I can, with the support of my team, that most of what we talked about has been shared by other people in this brilliant collection of people. We talked about the goal setting, the partnership of the mentor and the mentee, which is a little bit different than the coachee role, but by and large, the mentee driving the goal setting, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay.
Thank you, and absolutely, and I also think it's lovely to reiterate points that have stood out for you too, of what people have shared before. So thank you for doing that. And Lawrence's room and Mara's last group. Any pearls of wisdom to add? Or even what stood out for you? Thanks, Mara.
I can go. I think we were kind of talking a little bit about accountability, also on the mentees part, and what's their accountability and what's the sort of coaching contract or mentor-mentee contract and agreements between us. So that's sort of something that came up for me in that conversation that might be a little different than I've heard.
Right, and I noticed, Mara, also as you were sharing that there's been a couple of things popped up in the chat box as well, and it's about being, Dom was sharing, it's about being able to adapt, and Larry, you're just sharing. We also need to feel, and the mentee needs to feel that this pairing will work and that they'll get what will support their journey without mentor taking responsibility for development away from them. So that's one of the really important things when you're setting up your relationship, that you talk about all the things that are going to help you work as an awesome mentor and mentee. Also, it's really important to have the discussion about what about if it's not working, and what might some of those signs be, and also what is your exit going to be. So I think it's just as important to talk about what is going to work really well, and also what about if things aren't working well. And if you can have those conversations up front, it can make things a lot easier. And often if things aren't working well, you can often have the discussion, and the ship may right itself anyway. Whereas if it's not discussed to start with, it can make things a lot harder. Okay, so yep, talking about the contract point, great. And what's permissible to be shared, yep, within the ethos and spirit of the IAF. Thank you. Are there any contracting? Yep. So I will, the contracting for those of you, so we have simplified a lot of things from last year. So I'll actually get the slide up and go through the process, perhaps might help to make life a bit easier for you as we chat through it. And then if you've got questions, you can ask me. So I did, the PowerPoint will be available on the website after our orientation, and also the recording, so you can always go back and get these if you want. But I also popped up a couple of mentoring definitions, and also a couple of definitions about a mentor. And the last one you'll notice is signed off by Lawrence Philbrook, so thank you, he shared that with me. So there you go, you're in print, Larry. So thank you for sharing that.
Now I have to remember what I said.
You don't need to, because it's in writing. So we ask you all to fill out your mentor profile, and what makes the profile really important is that the mentee is going to have access as of this Friday. They're going to have access to all the mentor profiles, and that is their way of getting to know you a little bit better, getting to know you a little bit deeper, and deciding if they would like to reach out to you and ask you to mentor them. So the program is being driven by the mentee, not the mentor. And I know several of you
Sharon,
have. Yes?
sorry, for some reason the slide is blurred. Do you have any idea why?
Oh, no, I do not.
Anyway, we have a consensus.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had this trouble the other day, and I can only blame my internet connection here. I'm so sorry.
Sometimes what is helping is to bold letters.
And I don't know how to, sorry?
It's okay. I mean, as long as we know it's not going to change, we can keep going. Don't worry about it.
It was slightly improved there for a second.
Slightly improved there.
Okay. I'm going to blame being in the middle of a city that should have perfect internet connection and not, because I know that we have had people working out on our footpath because they're changing us over to NBN.
Oh, it's good now.
Yeah. Oh, good.
What did you do? What did you do to change it? Anything?
I just kept talking.
That usually doesn't help for me, but it's nice to know it works for you.
She moved the aerial on top of the TV.
Oh, now it's better.
Yeah, I've got one hand, my left hand up and my right foot out, and yeah, I've got my head sort of tilted to one side to get the antenna right. Apologies, I'm sorry. So it may tend to go fuzzy every now and again, so apologies ahead of time. So the reason I wanted to highlight about your mentor profile is that a couple of things have changed from last year for those of you that were mentors last year. So last year you put your profile in and you didn't get to see what your profile looked like or what you had actually written. So every mentor this year should have got back a copy of what they supplied to go into their mentor profile. All the mentors will have access to be able to go in and see what their profile looks like in the website. And we are also currently working on the ability for mentors to be able to say whether they're available or not. And because one of the things that we found one of the feedback that we got from last year was that some mentees were reaching out to mentors that, for example, you know, there may have been a change in health or a change in work commitments, or they might have already had several mentees reach out to them. They can't take any more mentees. And there's no way for the mentee to know that. So a lot of them wasted a bit of time trying to find a mentor. So this year you'll be able to go in and check what's in your profile. And also, I think at this stage, you won't be able to do it yourselves. You'll have to contact the IAF office, but they'll be able to then put into your profile whether you are available or not available. So hopefully that will help support mentees this year.
But can I ask a question, Sharon?
You may.
Is it about this availability? I mean, once, for instance, last year I had 2 mentees, right? So meaning that I wouldn't take a third one. So would I show myself unavailable once I have the number of mentees I can take care of?
Yes, so as soon as you have your capacity, so whether you want 1 mentee or 5, it doesn't matter, whatever number it is, once you do not want any more mentees, let the office know, and then so they can put your availability, that show that you're no longer available. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions about that before we move on?
I have a quick question. How many people were in the program, and were the mentees equally distributed among all of the mentors?
Yep. So last year we had nearly, I think up from the top of my head, we had nearly 50 mentors and 40 odd mentees. So there were some mentors that did not have mentees last year. This year I haven't got the current number of mentees because they're still registering. The last count, I think we had nearly 70 mentors and we're up around the 40 to 50 mentees, and they're still registering. So there may be some mentors that don't have mentees each round.
And how is the program promoted? And this is a parking lot issue, but it's good to know that we're on this call and getting all excited, and like the kid who doesn't get picked to be on the baseball team, we may not get selected. So it'd be interesting to know how it's being promoted as well. And as I said, it's probably a parking lot issue for now, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I always take note of all of those comments so that we can continue to grow and evolve the program. So currently it is promoted through by every member receives an email to join. We also have Facebook posts and Twitter, and also Twitter, so social media and email is our main way of advertising it at this stage.
And most chapters, when they have a chapter meeting, somebody will say, as long as there's a coach, a mentee or a mentor in the group, somebody will say something about it. That's how we got several people last year out of Singapore and other places.
It may be helpful to get things for this collection, as well as maybe the board, as well as maybe assessors, to promote this program in line with joining IAF, because you can't get a mentor unless you're an IAF member.
Yes, that's correct.
There could be some really good short ways in which we all could help send it around our networks. And sorry for taking you off track.
No, that's okay. It's a great question, and it's certainly duly noted. And to Larry's point, I know that Singapore chapter have already reached out asking for names of people that were involved last year so they can get them to share their experiences with their chapter. So that certainly is, as to Larry's point, another way that's being promoted.
Taiwan has as well. I assume Hong Kong has, but I don't know that they have.
Thanks, Larry. Now, I haven't got my chat up, so if I'm missing any questions, please feel free to unmute yourselves and let me know, because I don't want to miss any questions as I go through. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the next slide, and this is really sharing what the mentoring journey is for the mentee and also for the mentor. When they go to their orientation webinar, if they haven't already been asked to, there is an expectation that they're going to take some time to sit down and reflect and really think about what it is that they would like to get out of the program. And we're asking them to do that so that when they go in and reach out to a mentor, that they're increasing the chances of that being a successful relationship because they've already worked out what they'd like to work on. The other thing that I will be sharing with the mentees, that for them to get best value out of the program and their mentor, that it's really important that they have valued themselves and the mentor by taking some time to think about what they'd like to work on, rather than you having to spend a couple of sessions actually working out what it is that they'd want to do. And that doesn't mean once they do come up with goals that they won't change, because of course things change and they may come to you with one goal and it may change. However, we strongly encourage them to spend some time to think about what they are, to help them to reach out to the right person to start their journey. Once you have on actually connecting and having your first session, we will be asking you to complete a mentoring agreement, and it's the mentor's responsibility to ensure that gets back to the IAF office. And the main reason we want you to do that is it's very simple. It's just saying that the details of the mentor and the mentee, and also that you have watched the orientation webinar. And then we can note down who is working with who, so that we know what the workload of the mentors are. We know who have been paired, who has not been paired. So if mentees are struggling to find a mentor, we can support them to do that as well if anyone's having any trouble. At the end of the 6-month program, and as long as you have at least 6 sessions, you have satisfied the program's requirements. If you choose to have more than 6 sessions, that is totally your choice, and you're welcome to do so. Our only criteria is that it's a minimum of 6 sessions. At the end of that, it is also the mentor's responsibility to let the office know that the mentor and the mentee relationship has satisfied the criteria of the 6 months and at least 6 sessions. On receiving that, a certificate of completion will be generated, and also we'll be sending out a survey to provide feedback on the program, so that next time we roll it out, we can make it even better. So we will continue to have teething problems, and we thank all of you for your support, and as we continue to improve things. And Kimberly, I can see you pop your hand up.
Hi, Sharon. I was just wondering, and I don't want to take us off track if you're going to talk about this later, but are there specific additional requirements if your mentee wants to move forward towards an endorsed facilitator designation? And what do we have, is there additional documentation or specifics that we have to do as a mentor to help them in? Because I know that being a mentee is one of the criteria. So can you talk about that either now or later?
Yeah, no, that is a great question, and I'm glad that you have asked it now. I think it's very timely to ask that question now. I will comment just before, I might actually throw to Gerardo. We're really lucky that our Director of Professional Development is on the session with us, and so I'll get him to share that with you shortly. I had a question and answer session on Tuesday night, and it surprised me that from a mentor's perspective, I'm just letting you know, for the mentors to know, that a lot of the people that joined the Q&A did not understand the opportunity to actually undertake the mentoring program and to be able to then go on to their endorsed designation. So there's certainly some opportunities from that to share pathways for their mentees, potential pathways for mentees as well. Gerardo, would you mind giving us a quick overview of how the mentoring program supports the endorsed designation?
Yes, sure. Basically, what we need for the endorsed designation is to know that the mentee has completed the program. So when we issue the certificate, for us, it's enough, okay, for the endorsed. We have been discussing about asking to mentor to also prepare a sort of report or feedback on the candidate, and then we decided that that this kind of relationship is so unique in some way that we wouldn't like the idea of asking you to in some way to prepare a feedback that should follow a report or something. So I mean, basically for you, it's important to know that at the moment, a member should go through through the mentoring program to apply for endorse. So it's a prerequisite, but nothing more than this. And the office, when issuing the certificate, will in some way also consider eligible these people for the designation. And just a few words, we are right now in this moment the pilot assessment of the first candidates, which means that basically they are assessing our assessment process at the moment. So they are going through the entire process, which means preparing the application and then the online exam. And after this first pilot, we will also refine the assessment process and we will open soon the endorsement. by the end of this program, you will mentee could apply for endorsement. That's it.
Excellent. Thanks for the clarification, Gerardo. That sounds great. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Gerardo. And yeah, so it's really, really important to ensure that the mentee does receive their certificate of completion, because it gives them choice. And if they don't have that certificate of completion, it does not give them choice. So that's the first very important part. Yeah, we have another question, another hand up.
Yes, hi. Sharon, this is
Hi.
Mrunal here from India. Having heard you share about that there are more number of mentors and of mentees even currently this year, is it a possibility that there would be a time that could be given to promote the mentee to come in more, to promote that maybe a week or so that we could have maybe more mentees to try it out?
To continue to get more mentees?
Yeah, maybe some extension, something like that.
Yes, that happened last year, and we're certainly open to that. We had quite a few people that heard about it late and asked if they could still join the program. We were quite happy for them to do that, as long as the mentor was happy to go past the completion date of the program. So if they could find a mentor that was happy to do that, absolutely. We took a few on that started just after the start of our official, like this year, the official date is the 15th of May. So absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions before we move on? Yeah.
Okay. So I was just checking whether maybe I may not be absolutely accurate. I was just checking for the mentee to apply the date as a last date for applying for mentorship, if that could be extended so that we can get more application from the mentees to participate in the mentorship program. I was asking, could that date get extended?
No, we didn't do that last year, and we will not do that again this year. However, what we did do was we were open to people that applied late, past the closing date. At this stage, I haven't checked numbers, so I can't tell you how close to the numbers are currently as of today. I suspect that our mentees are going to be very close to the number of our mentors this year.
Okay, that will be nice. Thank you.
Yeah. You are welcome. Okay. So what I want to do now is actually take a moment and send you into breakout rooms again. And I want you to have a little think about this time, the roles and responsibilities for the mentor and the mentee. So I'm going to break I'm just going to set the rooms up. Just give me a moment to set the room. I'm just going to recreate them so we can mix you up a bit.
While we're doing that, I'm impressed by how many people have offices that look out onto tropical paradises here. It's starting to be very envious. I look out on a backyard with a broken garage door. So anyway, if I can come and live with one of you, that would be very nice.
That's your next online skill, John, is figuring out how to change your background. That's going to be like
that's
level
right. Yeah.
2.0 for John.
I'm a long way from that even.
We are happy to see your face, Kyle. It's all good.
Did I miss this, or did Sharon, did you talk about, well, I want to ask Sharon because she's busy. Did Sharon talk about how the mentors are evaluated by the mentees?
I heard that question, and so the only way that the mentees evaluate the mentors is going in to the website and reading your profile. That profile is critical for the mentee.
I mean after the mentor experience.
Oh, yeah, they receive so you want, are they actually evaluating the mentor per se?
Do they get a criteria against which they're evaluating the mentors? But
No,
we don't have to go offline to do this right now. I just wanted to know if that was already covered, and if not, then we can do it later.
No, we have not actually evaluated the mentors. We do have a process for mentees, and we share with the mentees. If anything is not going right with their mentoring relationship, they can reach out to us and we can have a conversation about that. So we certainly have had, I think only 1 or 2 people that for one reason or another that the relationship didn't go to plan last year. Other than that, we've had fantastic testimonials back around the mentees' experiences. So we have allowed the program to evaluate itself, the mentors to be evaluated by what we hear back rather than actually doing a formal evaluation.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So I have created 7 breakout rooms. So breakout rooms 1, 2, 3, and 4. So John, I'll just name one person. So John's breakout room 1, Noel's breakout room 2, Mara's breakout room 3, Christina breakout room 4. If you can discuss the roles and responsibilities, what you believe the roles and responsibilities are of a mentor. Breakout rooms 5, 6, and 7. So we've got Kimberly in 5, Don in 6, Nathaniel in 7. You can talk about what are the roles and responsibilities of a mentee. Okay, I'm just going to give you 5 minutes, and then I'll get everyone to share a couple of insights. Okay, I'm opening up the rooms now, and I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes.
We'll be able to also help them think bigger picture. You know, not just be a, you know, talk about tools, but rather talk about roles and responsibilities, the ethics, the real kind of role of the facilitator and how that role can evolve and how they can evolve into the role. So, you know, there's that interest often, especially with new facilitators, to focus on the how as opposed to the why. And so we'll want to help them balance that out. I kind of added a little bit to our conversation, some of the unsaid things, but team, if there's anything else you'd like to add in there?
I think you covered it very well, Kimberly.
Yeah, I think we've covered all the points.
Great.
Thank you.
We had a truly international group, India, Jamaica, Canada. It was great.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful things I love about this program. Breakout room 4, we have Artur, Christina. Is there someone happy to share their thoughts? I think you were talking about mentors, weren't you?
Yes, I can share. Unless, well, is Christian, is there another one, Christina, or is it me?
It is you.
Oh, it is me, okay. So in our discussion, there were several important things that the mentor should take as a responsibility and role. First, it was a clear understanding and knowledge and definition of IAF competencies and the path to CPF, because during that relation, and it answers to what Kimberly was saying, is also that in the competencies you have the position of the facilitator, the role, and all this is in there. It's not just about tips and tricks. To create a structure for the process together with the mentee, to know, you know, not just having an appointment and say, let's discuss, but try to find the right process that corresponds to the mentee's needs. Of course, build the trust with the mentees. This is very important responsibility. And altogether is about sharing knowledge, experience, learning, and help the mentee in its journey to more confidence, more skills in how they're seeing their role as facilitator and acting as facilitator. So hope this is complete, but the group, tell me. Seems
Anything
yes.
else? I will take silence as a no. And thank you also. I can see that there's a wonderful conversation going on in the chat. So please ensure you catch up with the chat as well as we go through. Breakout room 3, Mara's room.
Hi, this is Arun. I'm sharing on behalf of our room, which had Lillian, Mara, and Maria. This is Arun Vishwanath. We were talking about the role of the mentor. What is it that we need to take ownership of, or what is it that mentors need to do? One is become a coach. So how do you help the mentee, coach them in the process of the facilitation, help them discover, answer for themselves at times, and not really spoon feed them all the time. Help them take ownership of projects, anything that they are doing, and take feedback. I think that's more important, because how are they really doing? The second thing that we also discussed, that it's not just the mentee. I think even the mentors get to learn, right? And because we could have mentees who have probably done something which we learned, or probably they're good with some of the technology tools. So what is it that we can pick up from them? It's not a one-way traffic, it's a two-way traffic. Other thing was about managing time, also about differentiating between training and facilitation. How do they look at the difference? What else can be done? Sharing probably some case studies, more importantly of failures, which probably as mentors, what have we gone through, and what is it that probably the mentees can really not do and repeat the same thing. Give them the confidence, so that's what we kind of discussed in our group. So ladies, please share anything else that I might have missed from our conversation.
Thank you, Arun. Okay. Breakout room 2, Noel's room. Noel and Rebecca. And Christy and Jenny.
Noel, I got your note that you wanted me to share, so I'm happy to do that. What I think a lot of what we discussed was captured just previously, but one of the things that I thought was really interesting is we talked a lot about, that coaching role being, it's responsible to ask really good questions of your mentee to really understand and help them through whatever it is that they're trying to achieve throughout the relationship. But what I thought was really neat too was we talked about that it's not, or should not be kind of that teacher-student relationship either. So it's not just the peppering the mentor with questions of how, and then the mentor taking on that teacher role and giving them all those answers. I think we would miss a huge growth opportunity for that mentee if we just stuck to that role. So really we talked about the process being driven by the mentee, but our job as the mentor to really help guide them and help them achieve those goals, that we get permission from them to kind of give our advice and share our experiences and really inquire on what they take from that experience or that relationship, that it's really an inquiry process, and that our responsibility is to share those resources and tools with our mentees that align with the goals that they're trying to achieve, that we're willing to admit what we don't know, that we're not trying to pretend and be everything to that mentee. So they may have a question for us that we don't have experience in, or we don't have the answers to. And so there's a huge opportunity there to engage with our mentee into what is possible, what could we do, let's figure it out together, and or point them in the right direction or to another mentor who might be able to help them. So that might be a little bit different from what the other group shared, but those were some of the things that we talked about in our group, and hopefully I didn't miss anything.
Right. Thank you, Jenny, and a breakout room 2. And our last breakout room 1, which is Brad, Christine, John, and Mike.
Well, it was interesting, and I'm struck by how groups 2, 3, and 4 were able to listen in on our conversation at the same time as they were having their own. And that's quite a wonderful skill to have. But anyway, I did think that some of the ways things were expressed were quite wonderful. Asking, not surprisingly as facilitators, some of it was around asking the right questions to figure out what kinds of experiences and stories the mentees want to hear, rather than charging in with our own, which for many of us is essential advice. Christine described our role as being a companion, which is vocabulary significantly different than what we've been using around coaching and mentoring and that kind of thing. And that seemed to be a very good image. Companions are not identical, but they are on the same journey together. And picking up Jenny's point about other point about what the mentors will learn from this. Being delicate, delicate was the word used about when to jump in, making sure that it's driven by the mentee. Being upfront about what our personal philosophies and approaches to facilitation are. We come with inherent biases and worldviews about how we approach the field, and being honest with the mentee. And this goes back to an early point you made, Sharon, about making sure that there's a good fit. Christine, Mike, Brad, anything else in there? That hadn't been coached by the other groups, of course, yeah. Mike?
I was saying it was good what you covered it well.
Yeah, well done to all the rooms. It's been a really great all-round conversation around some of the roles and responsibilities from the mentors and the mentees' perspective. I'm just going to share my screen again. Oops. So probably the only thing that I'll ask of a mentor as well is that we do hold the name of the mentee in confidence. So if you want to share who you're working with, please ask their permission first. From our perspective, the mentors have put their hands up. You're going onto the website. However, from a mentee perspective, we see that relationship and also who they are and who they're working with is totally confidential. The other thing that I ask of mentors as well is to discuss potential conflicts of interest. So if the relationship might shift from being mentor to mentee to perhaps a working relationship, to ensure that you have discussed that up front. The other one that I'd probably highlight on, and I've just got Oprah's little quote down the bottom, a mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself, which I think it's just a beautiful thing that mentors can do for mentees. The other thing from a mentee's perspective is I've popped on there that it's their responsibility to respect mentors' networks, because I know that you are generous. I know that you have amazing networks. And I also know of mentees in the past, and not with this program, but other programs I've been part of, a mentor that shared with me how their mentee had taken advantage of their networks and used their name without their permission. So please check in and ensure you have the conversation with your mentee if you are sharing your networks on how you would like that to occur. And I would suggest that you always put in place that you will be the connector, that they're not to go around using your name to open a door somewhere that might not be appropriate. So that's just a couple of other things that I just wanted to highlight for you on top of what you've just shared. The other thing, I think that we've probably discussed some of these things already, but really the first time that you meet is building a relationship and ensuring that you are clear about your goals. From a mentor perspective, use your coach approach to understand what their learning style is, so that you know how to incorporate that into the way that you interact with them. So whether they are visual, auditory, read, write, or kinesthetic. Also check with them, how do they like to be challenged? Because some people love to be challenged and some find it quite confronting. So check in what method will best work for them. And also, I think it's really cool if you can take a moment to ask them the question. For the relationship to have been really successful, what does that look like? So what will you be celebrating at the end of the 6 months? Because sometimes that can be quite different to what their goals are. Probably the only other things that I'd just point out is that, you know, discuss on the medium that you're going to use, so that, because I'm sure that you'll all find that everybody seems to be using different platforms at the moment. So find one that, and also depending from a global perspective, some platforms don't work in some areas. So ensure you've got a platform that you can both use. And the other thing, probably the main thing to point out, is at the end of your first session to make sure you complete your IAF mentoring agreement, which will be available on the website. The other thing that I quite often do, which I find useful, is about a week before meeting with your mentee to shoot them an email and ask them to start reflecting on what's happened since your last session. And this allows them to reflect, take time to reflect, but also to prepare to have the next session with you. So I'll often ask them, you know, what did they commit to that they have done? Maybe what did they commit to that they didn't get done? And also from inner reflection, what skills and strengths did they draw on? So you can use some of those questions to ask them to help reflection before you meet for the next sessions. Any questions before we move on? I think this is probably more operational around how sessions work.
Sharon, I did post a question on the chat. I think I need to scroll up. Okay, so yeah, I found it. I wanted to ask you, so this particular deck is useful as they have already, for people who have already decided and they've applied to come in. My question is, as people are considering the application, what can you share if and what some of these guidelines or questions that may be useful for people at this point of application to think through, to help them consider whether the mentoring program is something that they need or they can sustain a particular kind of commitment through?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of pre-information?
Yeah, good question, Noel. So I recorded the Q&A session that I ran Tuesday night, and that has been uploaded to the website. So people that have been emailing me this week, I have pointed them to that link and then asked them to come back to me if they need any more information. So if people actually go to the Q&A webinar, if there's any questions they have that's not covered in that, I'm quite happy to reach out and have a chat with them. Yes, Moreno. Yeah, you're welcome, Noel.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I am not sure whether this could have been asked earlier. A curious question is, during the 6 months once the mentorship began, and assuming that all the mentors who are anyways a part of the program, because some mentors might not have a mentee, so might not be a part of a program, is there a kind of a time where all mentors come together essentially to share about what are their learnings and insight between the mentors? Is there something like that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to do that. So I'm going to wait until you are probably just before halfway through your program.
Okay.
And I'm going to organise I'll probably do a couple of different times and dates where the mentors can come together and share what's working really well, maybe some of the challenges that you've had, and so you can share your tips and tools. And also, I think back to what some of you were sharing earlier, you may have a mentee that's looking for some information, and you can reach out to your fellow mentors to help you as well at that session.
Okay, wonderful to know that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and sorry, because I haven't got my chat up, so if I'm missing any chat questions, please unmute and let me know.
Sharon, I was just asking if you can do a quick recap of the timeline, like when things happen and when you talk about halfway through the program, like what does the calendar look like?
Yep, so the program goes for 6 months. So it officially commences on the 15th of May and will complete on the 15th of November. I haven't set the dates for the midway webinars yet. However, I would suspect they'll probably be late July, early August, I would suspect. We'll meet again, and then you'll be wrapping up and we'll be sending an evaluation post the completion of the program on the 15th of November. So the mentees have their orientation webinar Friday night, the 15th. So they'll be in and have access to the mentor profiles on Friday. So expect to start receiving emails from Friday onwards. Okay, I'm mindful that we've only got a few minutes before wrap-up time. So some of the principles that we believe underpin successful relationships, and I know that you have touched on these when you already today. However, it is about that mutual trust and respect. And the way that we would see that showing up is that the mentees and the mentors are prompt with their emails, that the mentees are taking the time to be prepared and on time, and the mentor and the mentee are present. That the mentors use a lot of open questions. When you use what questions, they are great for brainstorming. And when you get to how questions, they are for action. So lots of what questions are awesome at the start of a mentoring conversation. And then the how is at the end when you're setting your actions. Listening and listening for their values, listen for what's important to them, listen to what their strengths are. So you're listening above the words, because words are such a small part of how we communicate. And I know in this virtual world that it's a little bit more challenging to watch and observe body language. However, I think it's amazing that how much we can pick up even in our virtual world. From our open and honest dialogue, there's a couple of really simple things that I like to use. The first one is, or formulas, I suppose we could call them. The first one is when you're giving feedback. So often when feedback is given, it's people share the facts and they forget to share the impact. So for me, a really simple formula is facts plus impact equals feedback. And the other one, which is really from the head because it's data, the most powerful thing that we can share with our mentee is an acknowledgement. And that's from the heart. And that's looking at your mentee's strengths, their talents, their attributes, and the impact that they have. And you just see them shine when you can share an acknowledgement with them. From an ending the formal relationship, there's a couple of different ways that may end. I asked you to actually think about how you might enter your relationship and what will be successful, but also to discuss what might happen if that terminates early. So that is one way that a relationship may terminate early. However, that is so rare. And please reach out to me if anyone needs any support or help with that. The formal ending of your relationship is after the last session, that you have time to reflect on your journey together, and that the mentor then lets the IAF office know that you and your mentee have completed the program, so the office can send a certificate of completion. And that is it. So as Benjamin Franklin shared with us, sorry?
Last year, the mentee had a form they filled in at the end and sent it in. Is that still going to be the case where they say something at the end of the experience back to the office?
Yes, we will send the mentors and the mentees will receive a very short survey at the end of it. Yeah. So that will stay the same. Thank you, Larry. I forgot to say that.
Thank you. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, Larry. And thank you for your support, because I can see you've been popping answers into the chat for me. So I appreciate that.
Actually, most of my typing is just typing what people say. It helps me stay focused.
Thank you.
It's not my ideas, it's your ideas. I'm just writing them down.
Well, thank you for capturing them for all of us. We appreciate it. And in closing, I'd just like to share Benjamin Franklin's with you, which is tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. So is there any closing questions before we wrap up the session? And I'm going to take silence.
Sharon. Thanks a lot.
You are welcome. And I'm going to say, I'm going to take silence as a no. If there's anything that is missing for you, please pop it in the chat box so we can ensure that we include it next time. Otherwise, thank you so much. Always open to growing and evolving the program, and look forward to hearing your thoughts. And if I can support in any way, please reach out. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Be safe.
Bye.